Thanks for tuning in to Totally Not a Podcast, our new weekly show where we review each and every new Dragon Ball Daima episode.
Welcome back to the biggest cock tease episode of the podcast yet. Daima has its biggest episode, and we delay the stream by a couple days because it was Thanksgiving. Tyson was busy. I imagine you were probably busy. And Mark and I, who don't celebrate that, just took it easy for a couple days.
You say took it easy. I was working on the script for the video, so whatever. It's fine.
Yeah, well, I did my video too.
Imagine not eating like 7,000 calories over the course of the last 3 days. It couldn't be me.
AJ knows better than anyone on this channel that I can eat an ungodly amount of food, so.
That's true.
Also, it is inhuman.
Also, AJ's always eating 7,000 calories a weekend, so maybe that wasn't as much of a stunt as I thought it was.
Maybe
hey,
not.
I've been good. No pizza this weekend.
Oh, that's pretty big for you.
That's a huge thing, yeah. I haven't had pizza in years.
No, instead I disassembled my entire room and put it back together again, and am now aching today. I've literally not been able to move. My body has been shocked by exercise.
I mean, that makes sense.
The exercise was moving more than from his bed to his desk. At this point, everyone has something that they should be being bullied for, because AJ needs to move
I don't have anything
more than
that I need
once
to
a
be bullied
day.
for.
Oh, I'm sorry, mister. I don't take showers for 2 days, even when I go to the gym.
Sorry, what concern is that of you, first of all? And it does not
concern is
affect my health
AJ's,
at all. I'm actually being... Sorry, Tyson. So you're from the United States. They have shortages of water everywhere. I'm being economically and environmentally conscious by not showering every single day multiple times like somebody on this call. So
there are 2 states of the 50 that have ever have water shortages of any type. What?
Sorry, California. How big is California?
What's your point? How big is Texas? How big is Alaska?
Yeah, probably. So okay, my point is California is bigger than 95, pretty much every single European country.
Okay.
So that's not the point you think it is.
Yeah, the point is you're smelly. I've never been with you in person, so I can't. AJ, you were with Mark in person when we filmed the God of War stuff. Was he smelly then?
No, but
See,
he did
exactly.
consume the most amount of food I've seen a human consume. You're bullying me for being a glutton. This man ordered what was it, 3 starters and 2 mains, and just piled it all into one bowl and somehow ate the entire thing. Incredible. I mean, it sort of started off this is concerning, and then it wrapped back around to genuinely impressive.
There you go. Perfect. Everybody, welcome one and all to the 55th most popular podcast in Australia last week. Totally not a podcast.
That is for
true.
some reason true.
Yeah, it is for some reason true. Very impressive.
Yeah,
very impressive. Good work,
we got a
everybody.
spam email out of nowhere that was you're the #1 podcast in India. And I was like, that's not true. So that did lead me down the rabbit hole to look it up. And yeah, for some reason, the podcast gained an obscene boost in Australia. And we somehow ended up, what was it? Yeah, in the top 50, 55, you said, right?
Yeah, so shout out Australia.
We also charted at the very bottom of the top 250 in Canada. Those were the only 2 places that we charted on. So Canadians and Australians are doing something. Everyone else needs to step up their game.
I always did love Canada and Australia.
Have you ever been there?
No, I am supposedly going to Australia near the beginning of next year because I have some family out in Australia, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, I've been to Australia, and my one main memory of it was that I think it was just me and this random kid I met at the hotel. We were throwing water balloons off the very top of this skyrise hotel in Sydney, and got very strongly yelled at by the hotel staff. Because obviously that could do some pretty serious damage. But yeah, that was fun.
Well, let's hope none of those hotel staff are watching right now to hear this confession.
Yeah. Casually admitting to a crime.
Okay, we put this off for long enough. This is enough foreplay. I've been wanting to talk about this episode probably since it aired, because it's actually it's easily the best episode that there's been so far, in my view. So if
good.
I want to rejig my top 8 now. It is, but this is definitely sitting comfortably at the top right now.
Yeah, this episode had everything from actual plot movement to like insane action, perfect comedy. Like it just, it had everything. So I mean, it's hard to not start from the beginning, because that was arguably some of the most insane stuff I've ever seen from a TV anime with Dragon Ball. What a fight.
It's probably a good thing that I had a few days to sit on this, because had I just hopped on immediately after watching that episode, I would have said something like, I don't know, this is the best fucking fight I've ever seen in Dragon Ball. And now that I've waited, I'm trying to think of one that I enjoyed, like that was choreographed in a more imaginative way, consistently good and all that kind of stuff. And it's definitely up there as one of the best fights that I've seen in Dragon Ball. It's really good, like in terms of choreography and in universe psychology. There's there's very little back and forth talking. There's very little commentary from the peanut gallery and all that kind of stuff. It is there when necessary for cutaways, but it's not there as a crutch. Everything, like, it's very clear that this fight is conceived of exactly as the person who imagined it envisioned it, and I think it really, really delivered on that. It really looks like a really polished fight, and I want to know what you guys think of it, obviously, but I would definitely think this is like up there as one of the best fights in Dragon Ball.
It was 6 minutes straight of just pure action, and had like, I don't know, maybe 3 cutaways for approximately half a second. Otherwise it was just like wall to wall, non-stop.
It's
I
crazy.
do have some thoughts about that, but we'll get to that later. I think what I found most interesting about it was that it's a very different fight to what we've seen in Dragon Ball for quite a long time, in that a huge difference in size and a huge emphasis on weapons. Like the way that hammer was put into action was crazy. Like we saw it, attacking, we saw defense, we saw the Nioibo in use. Like, there was so much going on there that felt really fresh for a Dragon Ball fight. I was just so blown away by it. It just sort of amped itself up over and over and over again. It was great.
I am going to go so far as to do the internet thing and make a hot take here.
Oh, God,
I genuinely think this is the best fight in modern Dragon Ball that we've gotten yet.
I'm trying to think though, what would the contenders be? Because you have,
it's that or Broly.
Are we including films then?
Yeah. Oh yeah, all of modern Dragon Ball.
If we exclude films just from the conversation, really, you don't have to think about anything from the first 2 seasons for obvious reasons. You can then think of maybe the earliest one would be Goku versus Hit. But even then,
that was fun.
It was a fun fight, but I think it doesn't even come close to this. Next ones then would be probably that really well animated, was it episode 54 of something? I forget what it was, but it was
56, I think, yeah.
Yeah, the Goku Black arc with Zamasu and Goku Black versus Trunks and Goku. Yeah, that one was like crazy good. But again, while I would say that like the action is like, there's an argument to be made that it's like super fun and all that kind of stuff, and it's really good. And trust me, when I watched that episode live, I was blown away by it. But it didn't have the same sort of story that this one was having. And maybe. What?
Okay. Well, this is my hot take. So
okay,
let me step in then. So I adored the way that this fight was animated, but I think, as a piece of action narrative, there's nothing here. I
really,
yeah. Like to me, this was a great action scene for 6 minutes, but I did not think that this had real action storytelling to it. There are obviously bits in it where things change and stuff like ups the ante and whatnot, but it's not a fight with real genuine tension or sort of narrative struggle that comes in. There's like a tiny bit, but it's too truncated,
I definitely agree with what AJ is saying, but I think I wouldn't categorize that as not having a story. So like, I would definitely agree that this fight feels distinct for a number of reasons, some of them good. But one of the reasons that I think a lot of people would feel that are used to watching Dragon Ball fights is that usually Dragon Ball fights that are iconic that we think about, like Frieza and Cell and all that kind of stuff, these are long, drawn out slogs that tell a very long story over a long span of time.
They do,
But like, I think what you're feeling could be like at least that's what I feel that this fight is missing. But I think it definitely has a story. I think the story isn't so much can Goku overcome this guy. It's more like let's watch these people realize who Goku is, and to a very serious degree, and even though Glorio has spent a considerable amount of time with Goku, this is the first time, like, he's gotten a taste of it. Once when he saw the King Kadan, like, show and all that kind of stuff, that was certainly true. But when Goku fought him one-on-one, that was again a step further. But this is where he sees, okay, this kid is like something special, and he wasn't even trying really.
This whole thing, like, AJ, I agree. This is not like the Goku versus Vegeta fight in the Saiyan arc, where they're
I'm not trying to say it is.
Right. There's a deeply interwoven story and narrative in the fight itself. And obviously, even with like let's say the final Goku versus Jiren fight where he's Ultra Instinct in the Tournament of Power, there's still some story beats there where the fight evolves based upon some revelations with like Jiren and his own psyche. There isn't so much of that there, but I think Mark is, for me at least, hits the nail on the head where this fight is Goku's like coming out moment for the entire like demon world.
Yeah.
Like it is like Goku versus what is essentially the strongest person in this entire realm, or at least one of three. And he just like really struts his stuff and finally gets to like put like do a muscle. He's doing stuff. And like
I will say though that I will absolutely say that I think like what AJ is getting at, I think I largely agree with. Like, this isn't a complicated story.
Either of you have gotten what I was getting at.
Well, like it's not a complicated story.
Well, no, but you need to understand. I'm not saying, right, that this is supposed to be a story with a narrative like the end of the Tournament of Power or the Vegeta fight or what have you. I am 100% aware and completely accept that this is more about Goku strutting his stuff. But when I talk about the narrative flow of a fight, if you cast your mind back to any fight from the series that is not to do with these like big, combinations of arcs or whatever, think about, say, like, Goku versus Gohan in that episode in Super, or even Goku versus 17. There is a narrative that builds up over the span of the episode where you come to understand like that there are moments where someone struggles, there is conversation, there is something happening that slowly builds and ramps up tension across the fight that lets you feel excited and engaged. And this is phenomenal visual-wise, and maybe that will carry it through into the future. But for me, I was like, well, this is the 8th episode. We finally got to this Tamagami, and okay, Goku won, and all right, I guess fine. Like, I can kind of see what you're getting at, but enough time to do anything with it.
Yeah. Well, like, to be fair now, right? I'm totally of the perspective that the pacing in this show is slow. Like, I'm not going to disagree with you there, but I think
and then this
what
was too
like
fast.
Thing is, like, I kind of think about this this fight. I can't divorce it from the episode that came before where Goku goes into the city. People have conversations. The lore of the city is that no one in recent memory has ever beaten this guy. No one, like, and so like they think of Goku when he goes into meet this big bad or whatever. They think he's going to absolutely 100% die. And for me, a big moment in the fight was when obviously Goku starts the fight. Everyone in town takes notice, and then everyone sort of gathers in and watches on. Initially, with the point of view, oh, this poor kid, he's going to get killed. But as the fight progresses, the story is less about Goku and the Tamagami, but more about the demon realm sort of coming to realize, oh, maybe there's more options to our suffering than just this particular circumstance that we found ourselves in for, one could only imagine, in the last 1,000 years. So,
there's certainly an element to that, but I would say the primary feeling here is that it's, the Tamagami and Goku feeling each other out. It's that thing you see time and time again in fiction, especially kung fu fiction, where your protagonist rolls up against someone who's supposed to be the master, and it's not this big dramatic battle. It's more about, this is a battle of understanding and mutual respect building, and that's of course there. But the thing that I'm saying is that, like, it's as cool as it was. It's 6 minutes and then it's done with. And to me, I just didn't think there was enough time for there to build that up in a more meaningful way. Because again, like, as much as I enjoyed it, I still came away from it like, man, I wish I could have like felt stronger emotions from this, because I just couldn't help but feel there wasn't.
I don't know what
there
it
is
is,
only
'cause, like,
one emotion that you're meant to be feeling, and that is, this is fucking cool.
Yeah, I will
This
say,
is
like, I mean, like,
Goku is awesome. Look
I
at
think-
him
yeah.
go.
I think all of us had some kind of combination of the same prediction last time, where we thought like this was going to be at least a two-parter fight, and I think even at the time, some of us even gave voice to the idea that it needed that. And I think when I said that, I meant it, but for whatever reason, when I watched this fight, it was just so well conceived of, paced, and I just loved how aware I was of the surroundings and where people were. The choreography was so much more than just you know, just that kind of stuff. Like, I mean, you can add all that stuff in to add more story if you want to, and maybe there could have been benefit for that. But like, and I do take your point, AJ. I do think that, like, if the story was longer and there could have been a more detailed narrative told. But for whatever reason, when I watched the episode, it didn't leave me in want. Now, I can understand why I might have left you in want, but when I watched it, even though I made the prediction that, or even made the assertion rather, last week that this needed to be 2 episodes, that it needed to be this kind of like real sticking point to show that, oh, Goku's really going to struggle. For whatever reason, when I watched this episode, I was just smiling ear to ear. So I don't know. Maybe there's something to that. I don't know.
I get what you're saying, but the purpose of this fight is essentially a very big, it's obviously like an action set piece, but it is like almost like a sparring thing where Goku finally gets to stretch his stuff. We've had a bunch of those throughout all of Dragon Ball, and in the purpose of that is just like spectacle, and to a lesser extent kind of gauging where characters stand in this world that we're in. On that front, I just cannot think of a modern Dragon Ball fight that I enjoy more. Every single second of this fight, my like mouth was open. I was just like eyes locked on, like a kid in a candy shop, just enjoying watching how sick Goku and this Tamagami are.
Yeah, and obviously from like an animation perspective, I think this is like the first fight where I really felt like, okay, this is the seasonal anime kind of like vibe that we kind of haven't been used to watching Dragon Ball before. This is like unique.
Yeah, in terms of the visual stuff, I mean, God, I have a 12-minute video of me just going, holy fuck, like over and over again. Like, it was phenomenally well put together. Yeah, it's such a stunning episode, even outside of the action that we'll of course get to. I mean, it was so beautifully done. And yeah, I mean, one thing that I really pushed deep on was just how well that environment is used. Like, you go from this flat wasteland, just this like completely nothing boss arena that we spoke about for the past couple of weeks, to suddenly like there are mountains towering out of the ground. Goku's running along the side of buildings, like we're suddenly upside down between two, like a split fucking mountain top, and like there's so much going on, like visually stunning. Can't fault it.
Well, we should end this conversation soon because there's so much episode to get to. But I think really just maybe reminded me of what this fight is for me, which this fight to me feels very much similar to the filler Super Saiyan 2 Goku versus Kid Buu fight, where it's sort of the same thing. It is just like a spectacle, like these two feeling each other out and like discovering each other's power, and to a lesser extent, like the universe's hero Goku facing the original Buu, and there's kind of like a coming out thing there. But it's that same thing where it's just, here is these two feeling each other out. Check out how sick they are for half an episode, and God, does it deliver on that promise to me?
One aspect that I think could have been leaned into a bit more, and there's obviously been a running theme of Goku rediscovering his powers, not having full control of what he's able to do, but we've gotten to sort of this weird nebulous point now where we don't actually know how far he can push himself. Can he go Super Saiyan 3 if he wanted to, or was it I feel like there could have been a story on the table there where it could have been presented such that, oh, could Goku actually go Super Saiyan 2? We don't know because he hasn't tried yet. And so that could have been the story of like, okay, he might not want to try to get it done with just Super Saiyan, because who knows if he has like Super Saiyan 2 unlocked, like, you know. So there
Super Saiyan 2.
Like Super Saiyan 2, yeah. But yeah. I think if there's any concession to make, I think there could have been something like that in there, but yeah.
Yeah. I just don't think it needs it. This is, if you think about a tournament structure, this is basically the first Goku fight. This is like in all of the old Dragon Ball tournaments where Goku shows up and his first fight is just watch Goku absolutely fucking own people because of how strong he is. That's just this. Like, we know the Tamagami is not the final boss of this story. We know he's not even probably the strongest Tamagami of the three. So this is just that to me.
Yeah.
I just think that lands better in a tournament structure, but yeah. Anyway, let's actually talk about the nuances of the fight because it was extremely cool.
Sick.
One of the sickest moments of this fight was absolutely the MCU Thor moment where the Tamagami yeets the hammer and Goku dodges it, and then the hammer comes zooming back and he surfs,
but like,
the hammer.
I know, but like, so like, this is like one of the reasons why I just absolutely go gaga for this fight. Not just because like obviously there's great like, you know, interplay with the weaponry and all that kind of stuff, but like the fact that this guy uses a hammer and Goku responds by taking out his Nyoibo. Everything Goku does in this fight is in response to him sort of dictating what is and isn't allowed in the fight.
Yes.
You'll see him numerous times saying that, okay, as soon as he breaks his freaking hammer, he puts away his Noibo. As soon as that guy starts using Ki Blast or whatever, he says, I didn't realize we were doing that, and then Goku uses Ki Blast. He doesn't do anything that gives him an advantage that wasn't otherwise obvious to him first, and it just, that is in and of itself the story of the fight where the Tamagami realizes how fucked it in over his head that he is. And I just love that aspect of it. And like, you see that for the first time with the whole Thor hammer thing, because like, it's just such an inventive way of like, you could like, this fight, especially the opening sequence regarding the hammer specifically, I just gave me the feeling that like a bunch of actual writers sat down and said, okay, this guy's got a hammer. What can we have Goku do? Because like he does everything with it. Like, you know, he rides on it. He kind of like gets hit with it, but kind of holds onto it when it's being spun around. There's so many different things done with that hammer. It's class.
Yeah, it's really impressive. And I think like we have to be accurate here. It's still the same writer. Yuko Kakihara has written every single episode of this series so far, and I think it's most likely she's probably written the whole thing, which is interesting. I think you can definitely feel the consistency in character writing and like actual planning in terms of this stuff. I mean, the way that stuff is used in this fight is just great. I totally agree with the way that Goku's kind of like feeling it out and being fair. Again, like it's what we were saying. Like it's that, you know, it's almost like a reversal of what I was saying, where like, you know, it's the kung fu student going up against the master, and then they're feeling out, and there's mutual respect. Except, oh, actually, Goku is the master here, and the Tamagami is oh
yeah,
shit,
100%.
Which is
sure. At the end, he's trying to do the Kamehameha.
I love that so much. It's so good.
I think one thing that it makes me think of is our conversation that we've kind of been periodically returning to, which is, does Goku feel like adult Goku at the end of Z, or does he feel like flanderized DBS Goku? And I really, in this episode more than ever, I feel OG, original, adult Z Goku, where, like you said, he is well aware that he is that guy, and he's only doing whatever the Tamagami is interested in doing. He's clearly having a good time, but he's not like, you know, like pulling down his pants or cracking jokes or anything.
Yeah.
He is having a great time sparring, and he is sparring on the Tamagami's terms, which is really fun to watch.
Yeah, you can just really get a sense for the fact that like it does feel like throughout this fight he has a profound understanding of how strong this Tamagami is. Like he knows the end result of this fight before it even began. And it's just, it just really, it does that old school Dragon Ball thing where it feels like there's a lot unsaid, and you can almost infer what that is just by watching it. Whereas with a lot, like I think a lot of things that modern Dragon Ball has struggled with regards to choreography is that it seems very repetitive, by the books, safe. Like you have a lot of like, you know, obviously, and again for different reasons, because this is a show that had that enjoyed a very different production schedule, so it has a lot of benefit to, you know, there's a lot of benefit to just sticking in the oven for longer. But yeah, just the this fight was everything that I needed from this story, because I had started to feel like Goku was just maybe acting a bit too childish, and I think there's still room for that criticism still, but yeah, this I think we get a sense for who Goku is more when he fights rather than when he talks, and I feel like that's very evident in this particular scene. Yeah.
Yeah, the Nyoibo usage in particular was really cool. I mean, obviously the hammer is something that, was completely new to us, but I mean, God, we've not seen the Nyoibo in action like this, maybe ever.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was waiting for you to give an example, but I was like, where the fuck have you seen a like maybe like Path to Power? Maybe Path to Power?
Yeah, we've seen some cool stuff in Path to Power. We've seen like a tiny bit of reanimation at the start of Superhero from the Red Ribbon stuff, but otherwise we've never seen anything quite like this. Was so blown away by it. I adored the part where he like slides under the Tamagami's legs and then extends the pole and like smacks the back of his leg. Like, just so much great stuff in here.
Or even like from like a defensive standpoint as well, like when he was using it to block away that, like, the hammer was coming towards him with force and he was using the actual Nyoibo's extending power to like push it away, but it wasn't working. And like there was a nice bit of tension with that. I felt like it was really good.
I also have to say this relates both to all the really cool Nyoibo action and just the general first half of this fight. There is a sense of weight and speed to this fight that maybe only exists replicated in the, I don't know if you guys remember when Toppo goes all ugly, God of Destruction mode, and starts utterly decimating Frieza. I think that's maybe the only other time in Dragon Ball's history that I've felt the same level of like just sheer weight and momentum. Every single time the Tamagami shoots forward, it's 0 to 100, and you can tell this guy weighs like 1,000 pounds, and then you get the opposite with Goku, where Goku is clearly like, because of his tiny little body and skills, he's like the Dex character where he's zipping around this Tamagami and has like a speed stat bonus, and it's
using the iframes as he rolls.
Yes, and the thing is though, and the thing is though, like I think I didn't even think about this, but like what you just said there made me think of it, was that this is a fight that could only happen in this way when Goku's a kid.
Yeah, to this extent, anyways.
Well, like you said, he's like his entire philosophy to combat in this particular encounter is to lean into the fact that he's small and hard to hit and fast. Mm-hmm. That will be so much less apparent when he's an adult. There are plenty of drawbacks to like him being a kid, but this isn't one of them. And like, I think even unconsciously, like this is a nice bit of like psychology that's kind of like going unspoken, where Goku's making use of something that would otherwise be a disadvantage. It's just another sign that like, this is a really well conceived of fight in my opinion.
Yeah, I think like one of the coolest parts of this fight that I don't know if we've seen something like it before, but was it Goku turning Super Saiyan upside down? Right?
Oh, man, it's so
Did he turn
sick.
Did he turn Super Saiyan?
Yeah, he absolutely does.
I'm trying to think. Did it happen in the Tournament of Power where like, it wasn't Super Saiyan, it was Super Saiyan Blue Goku turned or something? Or was it, what was it Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken, whatever? I think, never mind. Yeah, I think you're right. That is the first time upside down, maybe.
This is the second really, really cool use of a transformation sequence so far. We just had versus Glorio, where there's like the shot of Goku's face, and then as the rock occludes it, his eye goes cyan or whatever. But now we have this whole, probably the first big like explosive transformation of the series so far. And once again, it looks awesome.
Yeah, I'm just a huge fan of whenever they have that kind of like flicker of like teal in the eye. It's really, really pretty. I like, for whatever reason, I always think back to when Gohan transformed into Super Saiyan during was it the 25th Tenkaichi Budokai? 26th.
Yes. 25th.
Okay. 25th, yeah, in the Buu Saga, or prior to it rather, yeah. That one. And that's always one of my favorite transformations because it's just so badass, but I just think it's such a cool visual.
That's part of what makes this one really cool to me, because we've had like the Saiyan's Saiyan's eyes slowly convert from black to cyan when they're turning Super Saiyan. We had that with when Goku transforms against Jiro in the Android arc, and then like you said, we also had that with Gohan versus Kibito, and there might be a couple of others, but to the best of my knowledge, it's always kind of just been like a fade in from black to cyan, versus with this one we got this really cool like effect, this really cool shape design where it like bands across.
Oh yeah, no, this is better.
It's really unique.
One part that was really cool here as well was like the transformation. It's so blinding. Like I think they really did a great job of conveying just how like horrifying Super Saiyan can be when you're just greeted with this terrifying glow. Because like you see the hammer and like the direction, it's like everything just turns white and then it starts to become sketchy and just essentially like disintegrates into the light, and then suddenly you just see this glow exploding from the mountain that's arose from the ground.
Yeah.
Like it's really sick.
To even give words to to even like put into action what you were just saying there, 100%, I agree. But like you see that immediately as soon as Goku kind of like, is Super Saiyan, his whole demanner changes. He's so much more relaxed. The hammer gets thrown at him immediately. 1, 2, broken, goes back down. Like, it really puts into perspective how scary. But see, like this is kind of what this fight is. At like when Goku is like, feeling him out in like his base form, we're seeing it more from his point of view. But as soon as he transforms into Super Saiyan, the entire perspective of the fight shifts to those watching, and you start to see, oh, this is who we're dealing with. And so we start kind of like seeing a lot more of the perspective of the Tamagami. It's like the conversation stops being, oh, I don't know if Goku can do this, and then it goes to, Jesus Christ, I don't know if this Tamagami has it in him to actually deal with this, because this is only like Super Saiyan 1. He has no idea what's coming, Yeah,
I really like the atmosphere change here as well when this happened, because something that's great about this fight is that the time of day gradually changes, and from here we go from bright down to the sky starting to turn purple. Like it all starts to feel a little bit more serious, and I think the speed especially of this section is just crazy. Like the scale starts to feel bigger and bigger. Yeah. So obviously the start of the fight is a lot more grounded. It's more, weapon to weapon. And then this next section is like flying around, dodging beams, running along buildings. Like it pops off.
That's such a cool visual.
Hard.
It's such a cool visual, yeah.
I also think, going back a tiny bit to the transformation, I think the way the Super Saiyan transformation is boarded really plays into what we were talking/arguing about before, where from this point on especially, it's not Goku versus the Tamagami, it's the Tamagami versus Goku. Like when he transforms, he is positioned. It's almost kind of like the Goku versus Vegeta thing, where Goku is positioned vertically way higher than the Tamagami, way more imposing. The mountain like crumbles beneath him, and the Tamagami is centered down on the ground and has to like throw up his arms to block just like the wind that is produced via the transformation. And from this point on, it's just the Tamagami desperately trying to be alive or
just stay above
not
water.
Lose.
Like, Just it's great though, because like I'm not sure now, because I actually would probably need to watch the fight again, but I'm pretty sure that once the initial Super Saiyan transformation happens, does Goku receive, like, does the Tamagami land a meaningful strike against Goku?
I feel like
maybe not.
No, there's definitely like a scuffle in that like long shot rotation where like the Tamagami is like bashing away the beams that come towards him. But I don't know that there's a specific hit, because I think it then transitions into the just fucking insane Kamehameha sequence.
Oh my god, yeah.
Well, we do get a lot. Yeah. We do get a lot before the Kamehameha. I mean, obviously for the video viewers, we've got shots of the fight before the Kamehameha, but there's so much. Even now that the Nyoibo is gone, we get a lot of really cool action. Goku darting about. The shot in particular where he's wall running and we cut to the wide shot of the Tamagami just blasting him in a circle.
Yeah.
Not to go back to this, but that also was big, like, I don't know, like Elden Ring video game boss battle shit, where Goku is just like edging the arena, dodging these attacks, and just completely taking control of this fight. And it's
I think it kind of needed that. I feel like it needs to lean into those kind of things as well, because it sort of helps it feel distinct from any other sort of scuffle in this series.
Yeah.
Like the fact that these all take place in like areas that are fully realized really helps these feel special to me. Like I think to AJ's point as well, like he said that there's like, particularly with the whole wall running, and as the fight goes on, sort of the camera zooms out, or is rather forced to zoom out further and further and further until the big explosion at the end. But I think, again, to AJ and your point, this whole arena is so well established in this fight that it feels like we know where everyone is at all times. And that's a really strong compliment to the board of this episode.
The sense of space is great. And I think like to go back to like the video game analogy, like if you play a lot of games, you'll sometimes find that with these big bosses, like you'll start a boss fight sort of fairly evenly, and then you'll get to phase 2, and sometimes you will have the boss start to become more and more manic, almost like they're in like a kind of panic. Which I think you kind of get the sense of in this particular section, especially when he's like running along the walls. Like it's not like the Tamagami's really doing anything particularly.
That's true. That's 100%
crazy.
True. Yeah,
he's just like panic. Spam.
Yeah, like because like
it
especially at the beginning.
Blows
Everything
up the floor.
Yeah, but like I think I didn't even notice that. But yeah, that's again to your point. Like the beginning of the fight when he's facing Goku in base form, it's sort of like him going through the motions of what he's so used to doing. There's a lot of methodical movement, very purposeful. Everything is kind of applied with strategy. But as the fight wears on, you can really see him like running out of options here and trying everything, and like throwing the kitchen sink at him doesn't seem to work. And again, it does get more sloppy. And again, that's translated then into the actual state of the arena, becoming more and more sort of thrown into disarray, particularly until the very end when we get that subsequent transformation that we've all been waiting for.
It's almost, hear me out, it's almost like there's a good deal of very subtle non-spoken storytelling hidden within this fight.
Oh, it's almost like I said that it was there, but not in the way I wanted it, you fucker.
I wanted it longer.
Please clip that. Please, for the love of God, clip that. Anyway, what do we think of the big final hurrah of the actual episode itself? Is it the first Kamehameha of the Demon Realm? I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah, I believe so. I can't think of it.
I guess so.
Right? Yeah, I think it's the first.
That,
Is it the first Kamehameha since the very first episode when Goku was firing Kamehameha against Vegeta's Galactic Gun?
Yeah, it would have to be.
Yeah. So yeah, it's crazy to think that this is the first Kamehameha. And I think there's a lovely moment in this Kamehameha as well, where you can see he's firing at Super Saiyan 2 energy, and the Tamagami is just about redlining it, just about holding on.
Yeah.
But then Goku, like you can see the big pulse of energy, and okay, I guess that's Super Saiyan 2 then. And that's curtains then for the Tamagami.
Yeah, I really love this section. Like it's such a simple bit of direction, but splitting the screen down the middle and just turning it into like this, blue versus red, like fucking Star Wars lightsaber kind of storytelling is, that's so sick. I thought that was such a great little bit of detailing there.
We also get some of the coolest like effects shape design I've ever seen. Like, for anybody that follows the like animation Sakuga of Dragon Ball, you will recognize that this entire thing is now Tashi Shida. But like even amongst his work, the shape design for these like wisps of the Kamehameha, I can't believe how cool they are. Like, what is wrong with that man? How do you go about designing something that looks like this?
How long is this cut, AJ? You'll know this off the top of your head.
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
2 minutes. That's a crazy amount of time.
Yeah.
So like,
and it's funny because like it's not even like there are obviously cutaways to still sequences, but he still animates even the stills. Like it's straight up just like, and now it's Shida's turn for 2 minutes straight.
That's crazy. So he has like basically a third of this fight.
Yeah, him and Yohei Sasaki, who did the first part of the fight, those two just went insane.
Wait, hold up. You're telling me that this fight was animated by 2 people?
No, it was animated. It was predominantly 4. You had Yohei Sasaki, who did most of the like hammer and Nuobo stuff. Then when you had Goku like surfing across the ground and then going between the mountain and doing his flip, you had Yuichi Karasawa, who did a scene on Broly, and it just sort of went through about I think maybe 5 people. There may be some little cuts here and there from other people that we don't know, but it was a very, very tiny staff list. I think it was like maybe 8 people tops or something. Like it was minuscule. It was, the majority of the fight was just by like 4 or 5 people.
To your point, Mark, well over half of this runtime is done by 2 people, which in and of itself is amazing.
Yeah. That definitely speaks to the schedule of this show.
Yeah, they had time. They had time.
But you can see it. Like again, like it's for the first time I really felt that okay, we can really see the polish of this being in the oven now. This was the first episode where I was like, okay, I get it. This is like, well, like
I don't know about
there
that.
There were other times where it felt like, okay, this is like, it's always been a very polished show, but the degree to which this show is polished, given that it's like been in production for years, like. This was the episode where I first, okay, this is special. This feels really unique. You know what I mean?
This is certainly the first like blowout action sequence, but I think a lot of people really overlook how much Daima moves in general.
Oh yeah, no, 100%.
Like
it does.
You think about not even just Dragon Ball Super, because you know we can like make fun of Dragon Ball Super and its crazy production schedule all we want, but you just think about any anime, really. Like obviously they'll have really great action sequences, but a lot of the time it's basically stills of people talking or stills of them doing stuff with a little action here and there or animating their mouth and jaw, yada yada. But like the true power of Daima's schedule is Goku can be doing whatever, nothing is happening and everybody is moving. Nobody is sitting still ever. And that is as much a testament to this show's schedule. I actually think that might be more a testament to the show's schedule than action, because, you know, you can pay Shida to sit down and do a 2-minute cut in just about any show as long as you give him a few weeks. But the fact that everything moves always in Daima is truly special.
I think the aspect that often goes overlooked when it comes to scheduling is that quite often you'll see shows. I mean, look, I love Jujutsu Kaisen, but there are certain episodes of that show where, you know, at a glance, things are moving well, cool. But like, you actually sit down and you look at it, it's a little bit jank. It's starting to melt on the on between keyframes. Like it's starting to fall apart a little bit. Like it's, you know, it's almost like it's sort of just desperately stitching itself together because it's put together in such a rush. You know, as someone who just spent the weekend frame by framing this episode for my own video, you would be very surprised by how basically every frame is exceptionally well drawn. Like you're not getting the potato stuff that people, you know, like to post on Twitter and everyone's like, stop pausing. It's like, I mean, you can pause on Daima. You're not going to find much jank. It's really crazy and impressive in that degree.
Okay, so we talked about the Kamehameha fight. Now, I think it's time to continue talking about the Kamehameha because it just keeps going.
Dude, Goku as Godzilla, fucking atomic breath, Kamehameha,
that was
sliding across the mountain. Oh my god, dude, I love that so much. I screamed.
Yeah. 100%. It also reminded me of Godzilla. We've never. Okay, it keeps sounding like we're just like jerking off this show and being hyperbolic, but we've never gotten a Kamehameha like this before, ever. Like it just like slides him across this entire arena up a mountain. It just keeps going. It's sick.
Can I put on my nerd emoji real quick because I just want to upset Mark, right? Okay. I also didn't think we'd seen this before, but as people in my comment section pointed out, this was actually done in Heroes before. How do you feel, Mark?
Oh, really? Sick. Hell yeah.
Heroes before.
Not to this degree, but yeah, there was apparently a Godzilla-looking thing like this in Heroes at one point.
Cool.
So,
I hate it immediately. The episode, I don't know. Like, I think this is also a good point to make in this as well. And this point has benefited from the fact that, as this fight goes on, Goku becomes more and more terrifying. And this being the end, this is Goku at his most terrifying. This is like, obviously, for the entirety that the Kamehameha has been a move, it's been a finishing move, a severely dangerous, impressive, whatever you want to call it. It is an incredibly imposing move. But it's like, there have been often times in Dragon Ball where it hasn't felt like that. It sort of felt like Goku's signature move or Goku's go-to just to kind of like get out of a particular thing. It's like it's been reinvented a number of times, and there's only so many things you can do to make it look imposing, and eventually it just becomes another beam. This is a moment where, Jesus fucking Christ, this feels like, okay, this is a death laser.
Yeah.
And you can really, really get that impression, especially at the Tamagami's face. He's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Like every time it goes up to a close-up of the Tamagami, I'm just thinking in his mind, he's like, fuck, 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 fuck,
Just
fuck.
get wider and wider.
Yeah.
It's sliding across the arena. Oh, it's so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
A lot of Goku's Kamehamehas can feel like a quarter circle forward in a fighting game. This feels like a level 5. This is like an ultimate. It's so imposing and terrifying and looks so sick.
Yeah, and I think like I hate to repeat stuff from my video, but holy shit, dude! How often do we see the Kamehameha's presence obliterate all ambient light from the arena? Like it just turned the entire arena completely blue. It lit up like a fucking firework. That shit was
right,
so
but like,
good.
it blew, but like blew in like a scary way. Like this is like really fucking dangerous. Like it's like, again, this is like, in terms of scale of power, this fight really did a fantastic job, both for us as audiences, but also the people onlooking in the story, just to give a real sense of, Jesus Christ, do not fuck with this kid. He is dangerous. Even though he looks harmless, he is fucking dangerous.
Yeah.
Man, to really sum up how great this fight was, it doesn't end here. It's not just a battle of strength. It's also a battle of wits. We move into a mind game, which I thought was a fascinating twist.
But like, I love this as well because it still carries on the sort of, like, obviously when Goku powers down, things look okay, things are calm again, he's no longer a monster or whatever. But this actual instance communicates that even when he doesn't look like he's a threat, he is still on. You can't, like, when he's focusing, when this kid is like has his mind on the task, he is every bit the monster that you were facing, but it's all hidden away.
Yeah.
Even like even with his eyes, he'll see everything. You know what I mean? I just love little details like that. It's great.
Yeah, I think something about this feels just so like maybe I'm reading too much into this.
Say it together.
The actual Tamagami fight feels like it just existed to appease fans, whereas the mind game here feels like it came straight from Toriyama.
There is nothing more Toriyama to me than having this big action set piece, and then they're like, actually, this isn't the final fight, and then it cuts to a 5-card Monty.
Yeah.
It's not even just because it's a little funny, but because it's like genuinely subversive. Nothing Toriyama likes doing more than making you never be able to guess what the hell is coming next.
Well, I think I even made the prediction last week that, like, imagine this isn't a fight, but it's just another like a game of cards or checkers or something. Yeah. And I was like, yes, this makes sense. I'm happy this is happening. You know, that kind of stuff. So, yeah. What do we actually think of the actual game at hand?
Yeah, it's like it's so simple, and yet it's like it's also, I guess it's also kind of strengthened in a way because it's about, you know, perception of speed, but like,
sure.
Yeah, it was so much fun. It's like a mini game post boss for no reason.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Spike Chunsoft has a patent on that, so I don't know about this.
Yeah. But like I think it even did a good job though of like power scaling the group.
Yeah,
because like I think it sort of indirectly just pointed out that Shin is the second strongest of the group.
I appreciated that, and that it like allowed him to follow it a little bit, so it isn't just like the Goku show. Like Shin was capable of following along for a bit, but not completely.
Sure, yeah.
I also think this is the other part of the episode that most makes me feel like the whole, you know, this is still adult Goku thing, where I don't know how to describe this without sounding hyperbolic, but I feel like in some other instances in modern Dragon Ball, Goku would have been faffing about or doing whatever, have a goofy face on or like making a joke. But he knows that this is serious. He wants the Dragon Ball. And so when the Tamagami is like, okay, we're doing this, you better follow this, he's nothing but straight faced the whole way. Like just pays attention, locks in, and then with no like crazy, like overly childishness is just like, it's back there, dude.
I could make a very big dig at Super and say that had it been in this show, we would have had like Goku, learn to greet the Tamagami properly. We definitely would have had something like that. But yeah, no, he was so serious, and he felt very much like adult Goku just coming out of a kid's body. I feel so bad for Glorio. Like he's just been fucking owned ever since he got cocky and Goku showed him who was boss. Like he thought he was Billy
Hot
fucking
shit.
Big Bollocks, and now nope, couldn't beat Goku. Was blown away by what was going on in this fight, and then couldn't even follow the speed of a game like this. Like
There's also one tiny bit of like, maybe, I don't know if this is incidental or purposeful, but I think there's a little bit of storytelling here that happens that I think is both funny and interesting, which is after the 5-card Monty's over and Goku's about to be awarded the Dragon Ball, the Tamagami just puts his hammer back together, which is interesting to me because to me that implies, because it doesn't take any time at all. That implies to me that even after Goku broke his hammer, he could have put it back together, but he was like, fuck it, we ball. We're hand to handing this now.
I think do you know what I think it is? I think it's because, and I think he says it sort of either right before or right after he puts his hammer back together. He says, "You fight fairly."
Yeah.
And so the entire thing was just him showing him respect as well. You know, he like he could have very easily and probably would have continued fighting with his hammer and shown that ability mid-fight had Goku continued to fight with the Nyoibo.
Yeah.
But as soon as he broke that hammer, Goku sheathed the Nyoibo right away. So again, it's just kind of, again, it speaks to the unspoken story of that fight again. That
I just want to be the Tamagami's friend. He was so sweet. What a guy.
he's a really,
He was so cute.
I'm surprised people aren't out there like just talking to him.
True, yeah,
You know
he
what I
does
mean?
seem pretty chill. Maybe he just like attacks you. Like it's like aggroing a boss where there is no talking if you initiate.
To be fair, he was very intense when Goku approached him the first time. So.
Yeah. What? I also gonna say what every single Sparking Zero fan is thinking. Please, dear God, let this be in one of the Sparking Zero DLC because I want to be Tamagami number 3 so bad. He's so cool.
Yeah, he's so cool. I find it, he's definitely a hard act to follow in terms of personality. So I'll be very surprised if Tamagami 2 or 1 can keep up with that. So,
Yeah.
you know.
I'm interested to see what they are characterized like because obviously they'll have different fighting styles. They've got like different weapons, but will they
trident
feel
and a
different in
sword.
terms of character?
But yeah, he was so fun and goofy. And again, I know we mentioned it earlier, but man, him practicing that Kamehameha was so cute. Like what a nice little bow to put on that gift of a battle.
Episode, yeah.
That was so good.
was great.
But the back half of this episode, no action, holy fucking lore
Also
drops.
crazy.
Even from a visual standpoint, getting to see Arinsu's lair,
Or like Witch's Hut.
like that is the most RPG that Daima has looked so far. That just absolutely stunning.
So obviously there was a big aspect of Goku's fight as well that segues into this into the meat of this particular section, is we get to see that other people around the demon world that had the ability were also watching. And we got to see, like, obviously then, like, you know, what Dr. Arinsu was doing. And we got to see that, like, was it Goma and Degasu got to see, like, you know, zoom and enhance. But, you know, it actually makes sense this time because there's magic. You know, they got to zoom and enhance and actually get to see that, oh, fuck, Dr. Arinsu was actually there during the Buu Saga. And I thought that was really cool. And then is it from there we segue into her meeting with this witch character?
Yeah, they whipped out the fucking YouTube replay of the Boo arc and were like, enhance.
Yeah. But it actually makes sense because it's magic, so whatever, magic trumps all.
Yeah, I mean, it
But,
works. I've also seen some people online being like, what the hell? How didn't Piccolo notice that she was there? And I just have to set the record straight here. Piccolo was not here when this is happening. No, he wasn't. Yeah, there is a period of time after Vegeta explodes himself, before Piccolo turns back around to check the scene. There's like a sizable period of time there where Boo's remnants are just kind of like pulsating there, and Bobity's like laying on the ground in half, which is clearly intended to be when this happens. Piccolo shows up also minutes later.
And also, like, I don't know if this applies to Shin or not, but can they sense Glins? Can they sense their energy? I can't remember.
Well, so this has been the hot topic since the previous episode, because Goku teleported to Shin's key signature.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. I believe the answer has just been that, like, it can be concealed or something. I forget what the head canon was or whatever. Whatever.
Who knows?
But we get so much lore, so much retroactive continuity and reveals and whatnot. I think, like, something that Daima has done sort of routinely is to pull up all of these sort of old interviews that Toriyama has done where he's dropped additional lore and brought them back again, and either like kept them as is or expanded on them or slightly tweaked them. And this is definitely a case of tweaking when it comes to Boo's origins. But yeah, I mean, so much goes on here. We get the introduction of Marba, the demon granny, who has been creating strange Boo type things, and there was even a failed one. Like, just so much madness goes on here. I really don't know where to start. Where do you want to begin with the insane number of lore drops that happened in this section?
I feel like we have to address the biggest one first. No, the one that they're making another Boo, or they're making a controllable Boo, or they're making some sort of Boo, and that, like, Bibbidi, didn't create Boo, or like, he hadn't existed since time immemorial or whatever it was, but like, he was created by this witch character in secret, and Arinsu and her. No.
I'm coming in hot with this one. I am making a bold lock of the week type prediction here.
Pop off, Queen.
Okay. I hope you're ready.
I'm ready.
This steals just a little bit from some of the super chats that we've gotten in the past. I don't remember their name off the top of my head. We talked about
disrespectful.
We talked about maybe Glorio is like a creation of Dr. Arinsu, and it's like a Toa Mira thing. We get this line in later where Dr. Arinsu mentions, like, oh, I really hope this one works. The last one couldn't even beat me. I am locking of the week here. The last Majin that couldn't even beat me, quote unquote, is Glorio. And we are not getting another like Majin Buu. We're getting like Glorio 2.0 or some other like Majin demonoid creature that is like going to kick ass and take names, rather than like Kid Buu 2.
I feel like it needs to have the M, no?
You could argue that there's a degree of ambiguity in the sense that Majin has been used throughout this series to refer to any demon within the demon realm. But I do think that, like, in this particular instance, considering they're talking, like, we had a flashback to Majin Buu, there is the big M on Marba here. I feel like surely it's got to be like actual Majins, right?
No,
like,
so I thought about that, but here's the thing. I went back and rechecked this for the podcast. Every single time they're referring to Majin Buu and like Dr. Arinsu getting his essence or whatever, it is painted that she went and got a piece of him as like a strengthening reagent. It's like, I mean, you know, to put it in video game terms, it's like when you're like making some like craftable in an RPG and you can like add an optional reagent to make it like 5 stars or whatever. Like even the bit where we're shown her like adding the ingredient and all of the little forms of Buu go up. Like, it seems to me, at least in my lock of the week prediction type situation, that it is just like adding like key, like power, strength to this rather than like we're cloning Boo. That's what it feels like to me, anyways.
Maybe, but like even all the other kind of like characters that have been like, influenced by the Majin M or whatever, they all have the M. I just would be surprised, is all I'm saying.
What do you mean
I'm not
they
saying
all
it's
have
impossible.
the M?
Like Majin
Under
Vegeta,
clothes?
you have yeah.
No, okay, okay. We need to pause and not get confused here. The M on top of Vegeta's forehead was a like Bobbity spell thing, which is different from like the clothes of like Majin Buu. It's the same thing with the Burra.
Yeah, true. I guess like we've never seen a Majin be born. Like, what was the female Majin thing that was made for the game or something?
I do kind of like the idea of Glorio having like an M tramp stamp or something that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, somewhere. But yeah, like Majin Buu doesn't have an M on his body. He just wears a belt that has an M on it.
That you know of.
True. Well,
true.
Have we ever seen fully naked Buu? I guess not, huh?
Don't know, but I'm kind of curious now. I'm sure it's out there on the internet.
Yeah, I mean, there's a certain website we could probably check with.
And on that note, next topic, please.
Well, we get a little bit of lore, like clarification with all the Glen Kaioshin race leaving the demon realm, where they had talked about it before, but I'm pretty sure up until now it wasn't explicitly explained that exodus was because Majin Buu was like wreaking havoc and they were just getting the hell out of Dodge, right? This is like new information for us.
Yeah, I was under the impression that the thing with that the stuff with Majin Buu happened an astronomically long time ago.
Well, so did the Exodus. All of that is like painted as like happening a long, long time ago, right?
I thought it was within the last 1,000 years. That was what I got the vibe for.
Don't know that we had dates. I do think it was a long time ago, right? Because I think wasn't that essentially the explanation for like Shin's sort of general ignorance about like a lot of this stuff?
Yeah. I got the impression that all of this stuff came into effect like within the last like 1,000 or so years. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and check the tape.
I do also got to say, talking about how great this episode is, and we're all like, yeah, even the back half is great. I think the back half of this episode achieves something that we've all like audibly been waiting for this entire series, which is what the stake is. Like, what is the threat here? Because like obviously there's the whole Dende's kidnapped. But he's being read bedtime stories, and there's kind of been a vague nefarious situation with Dr. Arensu and like, what's the deal with Glorio? But none of those were like posed any potential real threat.
There's no urgency to it. Yeah,
right. This concoction, whatever they're doing here, like by pulling in stuff with Majin Buu and all of that scaling craziness, as well as revealing that Dr. Arensu is trying to like usurp and really become the Demon King, and is like creating this like super strong mook to help do that as like plan A. Like we finally have like a meaningful bad guy to look out for, a looming threat to kind of tie together all of these little grand adventures.
Yeah, it finally gives like real motivation to what we already had sensed, was that Arensu is the chaos agent. Like, she is a spanner in the works of what was initially pretty simple. Goma has become the Demon King and we're going to stop him. And now it's like, okay, but now we also have someone who wants to become the Demon King and is trying to create new Majin and to do her bidding, and there's something going on with Gloria. Like, it starts weaving in interesting secondary plots that will no doubt, culminate into something major. Yeah, like, to me, this was the strongest aspect of the episode for me, to finally really get that big hook, that big, tension. Okay, where do we go from here feeling?
Yeah, no, I think it serves as a nice kind of like obviously it's the meat of the episode is that it's the story, it's the hook, as you're saying. And I think the fight at the beginning served the purpose of like, bringing in the fans that were there for that. And hopefully then they get hooked on then to the story via this,
We've also skipped over maybe the most important part of the episode, which is the over-gooner bait that takes place here, where Dr. Aransu has to fucking hawk Tua up in that shit. She gotta spit on that.
Can we vote Tyson off the podcast, please?
She hawk Bua on that thing, dude. We're dating this podcast.
I will say that when she spat into it, the way that she spat into it was very, it reminded me, and this is so weird, and this is a very serious thing that I'm going to say, is from Your Name, the way that they make the kind of like
sake.
The weird sake thing that they were making. Yeah, it's the same kind of like old school Japanese way of like spitting into the, I found that kind of interesting, but yeah, that's all I have for this particular spit reference you're making, but yeah.
Yeah. I did appreciate that it wasn't overly horny. Like, we do get a bit where we're like, hello, Mrs. Boobs, please spit in this. But it's not like,
perfectly honest, I never made the connection to it being horny.
No, neither. So. I think you're revealing something here.
Okay, I'm arguing that it's not overly horny. I'm saying
mind.
Horny never even entered my mind for this particular situation, if I'm being perfectly honest. So yeah.
I was too distracted by thick Majin Buu.
Well, yeah.
Well, that is true.
I mean, look, there's at least several thousand people on the planet, if not tens of thousands, that desperately want to be spit on.
There's definitely more than tens of thousands.
Yeah,
there's definitely more than tens of thousands. Jesus Christ, being very conservative with that.
I'm obviously joking. It's not portrayed as horny at all. I'm not digging. You're digging.
What an insane tangent.
Okay, whatever. I'm going back to whatever corner of the internet is talking about Dr. Aransu spitting.
Can't believe I wasn't the gooner this week.
Jesus Christ, yeah. I'm surprised how, I'm actually really surprised how, I want to say restrictive or restraint you are being around every Dr. Aransu scene. Because I feel like those
He's too
thoughts
old
are
looking
there
for him.
you, AJ.
Oh, okay. Wow.
He only likes High School Videl.
High School Videl,
I thought you were going to say Pansy. I was about to have a heart attack.
He only likes Pansy.
Hey, she's 82 years old. I don't know what you're talking about.
Of course. It's
She's
totally
a 100-year-old dragon.
Oh, my God. Well, the episode.
What is the next scene?
So we move away from the suspiciously horny scene to Vegeta being bullied, but also Hybis being extremely weird again.
Oh, it's so good.
I love Hybis so much.
His little owl neck crane over to look at Bulma and deliver the most non-punchline of the episode is so funny.
Dude, this shit legit made me laugh out loud. It's like, I want some mud wine. What does mud wine taste like? Slow turn. It tastes like mud. Just the greatest.
I gotta say, I do gotta say though that the actual humor in Daima is very. It really lands for me in a way that a lot of the Dragon Ball animes that I have seen just haven't.
That's because Toriyama is funny.
Yeah,
True facts.
That's the thing. He's funny, dude.
True.
You go back and read the original manga, and a lot of people will poo-poo on the OG Dragon Ball arc, with Pilaf and everything, because the stakes aren't really there, and not too much happens other than meeting a bunch of characters. But that arc is sick because it's so funny. You can't go a chapter without laughing out loud. His strongest tool is how fucking hilarious he is.
So you saying that just reminds me of a particular. It was an interview or maybe a kind of a blurb that Toriyama wrote about an experience he had with. I think someone was asking him the question of what's it like working with Toriyama-sama or whatever, or Sensei or whatever they call him. He was asked a very serious question about what's it like working with this modern visionary, a living legend, and he was like, well, I often do ask him suggestions on plot, and he doesn't really have a lot to respond with, but there were a few times where he had this idea for a joke, and he just gets intensely involved and micromanages the entire manga for the panel by panel. It needs to be this way, otherwise it's not funny anymore. And so it when you talked to me there about like, oh, this is a very funny show, it made me think that maybe Toriyama didn't have nearly as much in like, you know, to do with the actual beat by beat storytelling, and he was just obsessing over the delivery of particular punchlines. And that's a reality that is more likely than I think any of us care to admit.
Yeah, he is.
I'll leave it there.
Yeah, because like that interview you're talking about, I believe he gets asked about like how Toriyama like contributes to the super manga, and like I think Tori's like, yeah, he just kind of leads me to the action scenes, but he's very particular about the jokes. And like then I think they showed how like he like redrew a Jocko panel because like the comedic bow that he does wasn't good enough, and so he just redrew it from scratch.
But that's just so funny to me that he just kind of like for like a show that is so known ubiquitously around the world for its action, he doesn't really care that much about the action, even though that he is unconsciously exceptionally talented in that department. He just only really cares about the comedy of the manga. I mean, like
so it extends even to how we've seen the like the film scripts, where you know he even said for example like Resurrection F, he wrote the script for it, but then as soon as it got to the action, he just wrote, and then they fight, and like sort of vaguely describes it. Like I know for Resurrection, I think he was like, you know, like, oh, and then the crater forms and the sense of the two most powerful beings clashing happens or whatever, and then it's like, you know, animators, do your best, and he just leaves it there. And we also like, we know from interviews, again, I think we even brought this up in the video that came out on Saturday, is that like, you know, Toriyama's favorite thing to do is adventure stories. And, you know, I think comedy is so entwined in that. And he always shifted across to battle stuff because that was what was popular. That's what the readers wanted to see. And, you know, I think we've seen, you know, in the, you know, the later years when Toriyama was just like, hey, fucking made my money with Slump and Dragon Ball, I'm gonna just do my thing now, and it's all being adventure stuff. It's all being comedy driven. It's not really, he's not really been interested in this big battle shonen anymore.
It makes sense though, because like while there is a lot of room for comedic expression in fights, and obviously we've seen that throughout Dragon Ball, it's a lot more limited in what is available to him immediately than adventure, because adventure is just sort of like a blank canvas. Anything could be adventure, and so therefore he can choose any topic, any particular scenario to make funny, you know? So I feel like he has a lot more creative freedom in that particular genre, even if it is a genre that like probably the vast majority of the Dragon Ball fan base doesn't choose as their first port of call for Dragon Ball.
You know, it's funny, I was thinking on the structure of Daima so far after watching this episode, and we finally got this kind of like sort of a stake imposing threat thing with whatever Dr. Arensu's doing. But obviously up until now, we've talked about how little is happening narratively, and like there are no stakes, nothing has challenged Goku. And it really, it makes it clear to me how, this show is like GT2, sure. But you know what this show also is? It's the Pilaf arc too. Because you think back to that, not only obviously you can draw parallels to Pilaf with Goma. He's like this little short guy who is like the bad guy, but he's like actually reading bedtime stories and all that stuff, and has like little mooks do his work that are like more competent. But like you think about the structure of the beginning of Dragon Ball and the Pilaf stuff. The very first, it took until the tournament, an entire arc in, 2.5, 3 volumes in, for Goku to ever have to try against a person. He didn't have to try once in all of the first arc. There was no imposing force for him. The closest actual threat was just him being locked in a room that was too hard to punch through. And it's been sort of like that up until now, where
can't believe Daima is the two least popular Dragon Ball things.
It is. Daima is GT2, and it's the Dragon Ball arc too. And wow. You know what? That's
funnily
put
enough,
it on the poster.
but funnily enough, especially with the action that we got in this week's episode, I do have to say, it makes me wonder. Like, this is episode 8. This is like the first Tamagami fight of 3. This isn't even the big bad. If this is what the fight for this particular instance looks like, it makes me wonder, what the fuck do they have planned for later? Because like this is like we're effectively going against like the the Botamo of like universe, like of Universe 6 right now, like in this like Tamagami, and this is the treatment that it gets. Like, I'm just so interested, just on like an academic level, obviously as a fan, but like just trying to think, what in God's name do they have planned for like later? Because like I can't imagine how it gets more polished than this, more well conceived. Yeah, I don't know.
I think what's just going to happen is we're going to get like episode 130, the second to last episode of Super, was basically an entire episode of action. And now, to be fair, not all of that was animation. There was a lot of cutaways and stuff that like pad the runtime, but it was as close to a whole episode of animation as we've gotten in a long time. I think what we're going to get with Daima, once we get to some of these ultimate and penultimate fights that last more than 6 minutes, is not only will we get an entire episode of legit animation, maybe we'll get 2 in a row, which is kind of unheard of, because usually you have a big blowout action episode, and on either side of it is a really bad looking episode because they had to shove all the resources into the one box. But I don't think that will happen here.
Let's think bigger. Let's go 3 in a row.
3 in a row. Yeah. I mean, you think about it, the episode before this, episode 7, was Daima's version of a bad episode because the following episode's big action. Like, it moved a little bit less. Some of its art was a little bit less consistent. I think that is true, but if you look at anybody that isn't paying hyper attention, nobody would possibly notice that last episode was the bad episode. That's just like how locked in this show is.
It's crazy to think that this is what episode 8 looks like. I don't know. I'm very interested to see, obviously, how the story progresses, but this has been the first real episode where I've had like a real appetite for, geez, I really want some more eye candy like that again.
Yeah.
I wonder how long it'll take, you know?
Have you considered, though, instead of eye candy, another funny joke?
This episode finishes up with Hibis bullying Vegeta for having no manners, just speaking like he's a king. Straight shoots him down. You're not even a king, but you act so arrogant, so I ignored you.
Yeah.
Just phenomenal.
It's delivered so low key too. It's not like this big gaudy punchline. He asked the question like normal anime shit, and then it's just like 6 seconds of like nothing really happening, and you're like, oh, is this like a dramatic pause? And he's just like, oh, I ignored you. You're too fucking annoying.
Yeah. There's a very specific dynamic that Hibis is offering, and I'm all here for it.
Yeah.
Like, he's a very good addition to the
He's such a queen. I love him. He knows exactly how to speak to Vegeta, and he's like bonding with Bulma, but takes none of her shit either. He's just like the perfect foil. Foil for Bulma and Vegeta's attitude. Just so good.
Yeah, it's great. Big fan of Hibis.
I was just gonna say, like, even going into the NEP, like, we just see even more like bizarre comedic stuff. Though I will say it also looks as though it's giving me what I was really hoping to see in the show, which was that if they're gonna go around and explore stuff, I would like mini stories within the places they go. And it looks like, okay, something is getting stolen here, and okay, so now we need to go and do something around that. You know, like, it's the kind of stuff I really wished we could have seen maybe slightly earlier in the series. So if like the rest of the series starts to throw in mini adventures in the places that they go to, hell yeah. Like, that's exactly what I want.
We're getting the most important thing. The characters in pajamas.
It's so weird seeing him wear something like that. It's so unnerving. Because it's like, I don't know. I guess because it's just like, you're so used to seeing Goku in martial arts outfits that feel timeless, and a lot of stuff that Dragon Ball characters wear doesn't often have like real analogs to the world that you see commonly. I think like the closest you get is like the big t-shirts that Roshi wears a lot. Goku's here. It just like he's like a modern day child. It's so weird, but I
honestly, for whatever reason, whenever Goku's not in his like Goku costume, he just looks like Goten. I can see that, because like, it's, especially when he's just wearing that weird little oversized t-shirt, he looks so much like Goten, because of the modern art style. Because I've only ever seen Goten in that art style, and I've seen Goku only in like as a kid prior to this, all like, you know, in the older art style. So I don't know.
Yeah,
It'd
definitely.
be a weird thing to get used to.
I didn't think at all about what was being stolen until now when I'm sitting down and thinking about it. This bag is very clearly Dragon Ball shaped, right?
I hope that this is like a recurring theme, right? Because I think if there's something we felt early on was, of course, there was like a sort of a lack of tension and something to push the narrative forwards. If they're then being chased, right, by not just the military police, but also other inhabitants of the demon world who want the balls, like, wow.
They're just racking up like GTA wanted stars rather.
Yeah,
I can understand on some level why they're running away from the military police, or trying to avoid them at the very least, because they can damage their spaceships and stuff. But in terms of like on the ground being fearful of people, I think Goku's pretty much established that he shouldn't really. There shouldn't be a need to fear anybody.
Well, to be clear, I'm not saying he should be
yet.
fearful. I'm just saying that it's interesting to have like actual, people going after them to like put roadblocks in the way
suppose
for them. In
I'll have to
minor
wait
ways.
and see.
Annoyances. Speed bumps.
Yeah.
Speed bumps that aren't your ship crashing, perhaps.
What a novel idea. Imagine that. Was this the first episode in a very long time where the ship didn't crash?
We need to predict when the next ship crash will happen.
Ship crash? Yeah.
Next week.
You think next week already?
No.
I'm gonna.
We
I'm gonna say
need
next week.
there has to be forward momentum here. Basically this
Does
episode
there really?
This episode structurally has to be like as far as like plot momentum wise, has to be Vegeta and Co meeting up. So we don't really have much time for anything but them catching up in the middle or by the end of this episode and then moving on into the second demon world.
Yeah, I'm going to guess next ship crash maybe episode 10, 11? 10.
I was going to say 11 or 12, but yeah.
Okay.
I'm still saying 2. I'm still saying the next one.
Okay.
I'm locking it in.
It's possible. I mean, maybe. We'll see.
I mean, yeah. I mean, like, they could crash the ship and then they could all reconvene in the other ship that they meet the guys in. So, it's like...
True.
I'm just saying, it's entirely in the cards, especially with the show like this. How many times has the ship crashed? 5 times? 6 times? I can't remember.
5 out of 7 episodes back in episode 7, so now 5 out of 8.
Overall, best episode of the series so far. Yep.
Oh yeah. Comfortably, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Not
Easily.
even particularly close.
So that was, our first sort of action blowout, our first big reveal. Curious to see how the momentum moves from here out, but I think we will now move into the Q&A section. Just a heads up going into the Q&A here. I had some strange buzzing that started appearing almost immediately as the Q&A started. I thankfully don't talk that much during this Q&A segment, so you don't have to put up with that, but you will hear me talk at the start, so I apologize for the noise in advance.
Okay, let's start at the top here. We have a $50 super chat from Tyler Owens. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that really generous one. Jesus Christ,
yes.
Thank you so much.
We say it every time, but these are literally what allows us to continue doing this podcast. So thank you. They say, if you investigate the details of the new Majin, I believe we are seeing the retcon origins of Toa. The blue color being brought to attention, the fact Boo ate Dabra before the explosion, and who the spit is from. That was my first reaction.
This sounds suspiciously like Super Dragon Ball Heroes.
Well,
is it?
Okay, so hold on.
Well, wait. Answer that question.
Well,
is it Super Dragon Ball Heroes?
So I was about to, right? So we went on a big old rant. Oh, God, Toa and Mirror, Dragon Ball Heroes, blah, 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 blah.
Wait. Is she a character in Dragon Ball Heroes?
She originated in Dragon Ball Online, and Toriyama actually played a role in creating Toa and Mirror for Dragon Ball Online. It was a correction that we got after you went on just a tirade about hating heroes. So actually, you can
Is she a character?
She is in Dragon Ball Heroes, but was there? Oh, he's gone. Oh, he's left. He's walked off screen. He's away from the microphone. Oh, we lost Mark. Well, we had a good run.
That's the end of the podcast.
Thanks for listening.
The show
guys.
is just a bit too heroes for him, perhaps. He's back.
Welcome
back, Mark. How's it going?
Is the next question?
Did
yet?
you enjoy your speedy therapy session about Toa and Mira?
It was nice not hearing about Dragon Ball Heroes again.
Well, look, I made the correction. If you still refuse to acknowledge them, that's fine.
For what it's worth, I actually think the blue color is further support of my lock of the week theory that it has to do with Glorio, because it was basically the exact same color originally the stew was as Glorio's skin. So that's just more evidence for me, I feel like.
Glorio skin? Yeah, 100%. I could definitely see that. But it could just be blue because it's fucking blue. I don't know. Because, like...
You're blue.
This is true.
Oh, well, you are wearing a blue hoodie, actually. I'm not wrong.
Yeah, and my eyes are blue, so thank you for noticing that, too.
Yeah, they're pretty. Carry on.
So, was that particular comment about Glorio in relation to a particular comment making that assertion, or was that in addition to something that was said regarding the Toa stuff?
I was... Because they mentioned the blue color being brought to attention in this. I'm assuming I see. Plays into a Toa Mira thing. Is Mira blue, right?
I don't know. I'm looking forward to. I think where Super was the show of different colored Super Saiyan hair, this will be the show of different colored
Majin Blue.
That's my prediction.
Majin Blue. I just saw a person comment that actually the super chat actually made that exact joke, so I feel bad now.
Excellent. They will be refunded immediately.
Okay.
Let's see. We got from Zeagles. They say, I feel the scene with Goma seeing Dr. Aransu get a piece of Boo is terrible storytelling. We just cut to it so we have context as to how she has this piece of Boo. She could have had it because Boo is from the demon realm. Why are they looking back at the flashback data again? Because now we have to say she was there, and how did no one sense her? Krillin and Piccolo were right there after the blast.
Well, because it was set up earlier in the series where Gomar is going to Earth and they're told, Aransu actually has been here before ahead of you. So they were looking into why that had been the case. It was a follow-up to that.
I actually liked it because it directly ties the events of Majin Buu and what we had already previously seen into the story too. So I mean, like, fair enough, you feel that way, that, you know, and all that kind of stuff. But I actually really liked the inclusion of it personally.
I would also argue, to your point, Mark, I would argue that she's only able to get the piece because there was a person strong enough to blow Buu to pieces. Like, they're not strong enough to extract a piece of Buu on their own, but this fucking roided out maniac over here blew into pieces. And she was like, don't mind if I do. Yoink.
Yeah, no, like, I mean, like, again, I think it's totally fine for the way it was carried out because it doesn't really contradict anything, which is rare. So, like, it's really nice.
We're not adding that one to the retcon list.
Nope. Even though there was a retcon in this episode, but yeah.
Michael Plucky. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. If I ever pronounce anybody's name wrong, I'm so sorry. They say, what would you prefer? Daima to be a finished product or something that could come back to us every year/2? Parentheses, despite being written as a one-timer.
I mean, it depends really on, like, what the finished product of this first season looks like. If it is just one season, I don't know if it will continue. Based on, like, what the topic of the last video that we released was sort of discussing the future prospects of Daima to a certain degree. I suppose you could infer something from that. But the impression that we basically have is that I think the powers that be at Toei sort of recognize Daima is a, like, you know, tackling with, like, you know, a more adventure-based centric story around like small chibi characters. It probably isn't what most Dragon Ball fans, or at least the lion's share that they would want to try to tap into for monetary gain, would be interested in. So my guess would be that after this, we're more likely to get like a Super 2, like the continuation of Dragon Ball Super, before we get another season of Dragon Ball Daima, because I'm pretty sure, and I think it's pretty safe to say that this series was conceived of purely as like a celebration of Dragon Ball marking its 40th anniversary, right?
So it was originally conceived of as a spin-off, right? Sort of like a what's the example that we use? The
Rock Lee and
the Rock Lee.
Yeah, Rock Lee, the little chibi Rock Lee show. It was originally conceived of as that, not in the chibi form, but just as like a standalone spin-off side story type thing.
Yeah.
But
But like, yeah, to answer the question, like I would be like, I mean, I am loving Daima so far. Like if we could get like this on like a semi consistent basis, like as you're saying, like a once a year type thing where they kind of like circle back around and like, here's the rest of the story, I'd be totally down with that. But it's just like judging by like even the first 8 episodes, there's so much, the level of polish and the amount of movement in this series suggests that like this was sort of a one-off thing, even if it could potentially continue, because we don't actually know the end of the story, obviously, but like even if it could continue, I would find it very hard to believe that it would get to this level of polish, even if they had a year. So it just, I don't know.
Hey, we've got One Piece. One Piece Wano was pretty, obviously it wasn't quite at Diamond's level, but it was cracked pretty constantly, and it seems like they're going to keep that up with the small hiatus that they're taking.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. But like that's One Piece, and that prints money for the franchise.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are we acting like Dragon Ball doesn't print the objective most amount of money for Toei?
Well, it depends, right? So like it depends on how successful this particular outing is. Like I think we can all agree that Daima isn't as popular as Dragon Ball Super.
I was just contending with the idea that we could have a show that looks as good or roughly as good as this for Dragon Ball. Not necessarily Daima specifically, but
I'm talking about a continuation of Daima.
To give you like the full breakdown, the staff were assembled like mid 2022. They began animating around October, September, and they were still finishing up animation for the final episode when the show started airing, which I think most people have worked out as about 20 episodes. That's a fucking long time.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
It would be pretty hard to do this again. The thing is, like, something that I think we also have to keep in mind, right, is that the One Piece anime right now is just like completely in its own different league. Like it's an anime that is essentially recapturing the spirit that Naruto Shippuden had when it was on the air, in that it's like a playground for animators to experiment in. They're being given all the freedom in the world to do all of this like crazy stuff you basically like never see on long running shows. Like it's so out of the norm. Yeah. Like it's wild.
I would love more of this because I mean, I've said it a million times on this podcast. I am eating this up. This is what I love about Toriyama type stories. Of course, he's no longer around, which also complicates things. But I think ultimately it would be very hard for this to be anything but standalone, not only because it was conceived as standalone, but I don't, like, where do you go from here? Obviously, you can't have Goku be a kid for, like, the foreseeable future. And we can only cram so much story in this tiny little window of time in between end of the Buu arc and beginning of Super before you start overwriting stuff. And if you do start overwriting stuff, that's a whole thing. Do we want to do? Is this worth going that far? I don't think so. Super is like objectively more popular than Daima presently, at least. So I think it'd be sick, but I don't think it's very plausible at all.
Yeah, it just depends on, like, again, like, even from a narrative perspective, we can't really speculate as to whether or not the ending of this the ending of the series will be open-ended enough to leave room for something like that. So I suppose only time will tell.
Nitro09 says, who do you guys think is going to fight the second and third Tamagami? Piccolo or Shin for the second one, and then Vegeta for the third one, or they might throw us a curveball?
There was an animation that went around on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it, and they animated a possible fusion between Goku and Shin, or Nahade, or whatever his name is. And when I saw it, I didn't really think much of it. But then, the more I thought about it, I was like, this makes too much sense, and this has to happen at some point. So I think it could absolutely happen for like the last Tamagami, where they need to fuse together to do something. But I think that, like, I mean, the tweet itself goes into it, but like I kind of like pontificate that, like, or I think on the idea that like we've received like Shin's real name that is necessary for creating new fusions or whatever. We have seen plenty of instances where he has sort of like established himself as a powerful character. We've seen it even in the Tamagami thing where he was the only other person to keep up with the movements of the cups. Not until the absolute end, but he definitely got the furthest outside of Goku. And we've seen, obviously he's got an aversion to bugs and all that kind of stuff. So that sort of plays into the whole apprehension that Vegeta has around taking the fusion earrings with Goku. There's always an apprehension when Goku proposes a particular thing. So that could be an apprehension there as well. So like in my view, there's plenty of the groundwork has been laid for him to very easily be a fusion partner with Goku. And I feel like a lot of people, because Vegeta's involved, and myself included, I was only thinking about the possibility of Goku and Vegeta really in any serious measure. And I never really considered Shin. So I definitely think that Shin's a possibility. I'm locking that's my lock for this episode. Shin and Goku fuse.
I feel like 2 has got to be like a group battle, right? Surely. Because I mean, if we think about what we still haven't.
Oh, actually, it can't be. They're explicitly labeled as one-on-one fights. We got that in last episode.
Oh, all of them are that, or just the first one?
I mean, I guess you could argue that rule is for some reason only the first one, but I don't think there's any reason to assume that would, for some reason, only apply to this Tamagami.
I didn't even notice the rule, so I don't know.
Well, because I'm just wondering, because if you think about the main trailer that came out, we had footage of Piccolo and Vegeta fighting. I'm just wondering, like, where's that from? I've also been thinking a lot about, like, so what's the structure of the series, right? Like, if we take 20 episodes as accurate, then we've done 6 episodes in the Demon Realm 2 on Earth. So what are we thinking for World 2? How and how long will World 3 be?
Is World 2 and World 3, like, are they comparable in size or are they smaller than World 3? I actually don't know. Was there ever any sort of suggestion as to one being smaller or bigger than the other? Okay.
Nothing concrete anyways. I think that it will have to be one-on-one fights. I think my personal prediction, because like we have this fusion bug smoking MacGuffin, whatever you want to call it.
Smoking gun. Chekhov's gun.
Chekhov's gun. That's what I'm looking for. Thank you. I don't think it's going to be for either of the Tamagami because I don't think they're going to be the final boss. Maybe you could argue that we don't want another fusion finale so that they will get used for the Tamagami. But given, you know what? Actually, I'm rewriting my opinion mid-sentence. I don't think we want another fusion finale. So I think the fusion bug's going to be used for one of the Tamagami. And I think that's going to play into the fact that they're one-on-ones. Can't send in 2 people. You can join bug them.
I wouldn't anticipate there being a 2-on-1 situation with a Tamagami right now, just because the only one that we've seen was absolutely bodied by Goku alone. So I can't imagine what doubling up on that particular effort would do. So who knows, I guess.
Yeah, I think that will also play into, they're kind of like the tests of strength at the end of each, but they are not the big threat. Like, we've now established the big threat. It's to some extent Goma, and to some other extent whatever the hell Arensu is making. They're just the tests of strength. So I think that makes the fact that we've already established to some extent that they have to be one-on-ones, that it will just be maybe Piccolo. In fact, I think it has to be Piccolo for World 2 because that's where the Namekians come from. It would not make sense to have Piccolo in the Namekian homeworld and not have him do the one fighting Tamagami number 2.
Well, I mean, like, Shin's also from that world, so.
I had a thought. So you saying them tests of strength, reminded me that, like, the Tamagami are almost sort of these, they almost feel kind of neutral in the world. And I'm wondering if will they remain neutral, or will we see like Goku do his whole befriend and I don't know. That just suddenly came to mind.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of hard to know, really. I mean, like, it's clear that he had a very profound influence on Tamagami 3, so I suppose that particular theory holds some water at the very least. But I guess we just don't have enough information yet.
Adam Steen submits 2 questions. What are the chances we see Goku's age up mid-fight later in the show? Hey,
I
that's a
think
Mark theory.
super high. I think like, okay, so for those of you that haven't seen it, the theory that I had, right, and it's purely just out of the math, just matching too well. So like in a show that is all about them getting younger, for whatever reason, one of the first words we hear in the series is Saiyans retain their youth until later in life or whatever the fuck, right? It's just, that's a weird thing to include in a story about this, first of all. On its own, completely innocuous, right? Why I think about it so much is because there were two mechanics or two elements that were introduced in this series that sort of match together in a really nice way, or three things really. The first thing is we get Goku aged down specifically to the age of 6. We get the collars, which have the capacity to drain life force in at least lumps of 9 years, and 9. So if Goku were to have 9 years drained from his life or whatever, you could conceivably make that, like, translate that to possibly mean that he gets to become 15. And earlier in episode 1, it's also stated that at 15 is when Goku and other Saiyans get a growth spurt. And so for that math to math like that so perfectly, it could, I will admit, just be a massive coincidence. But I feel like there's an opportunity on the table here to see teen Goku, and I think that would be really fun. That's my theory.
Yeah, I don't know. They did have a second question for what it's worth, which is off topic. As a first Dragon Ball manga, should I get all of Dragon Ball or DBZ? Say it in unison.
From the beginning.
Dragon Ball.
Yeah, you got a Dragon Ball, yeah.
We start stories from the beginning.
We do. Like to be perfectly clear, if you start with Dragon Ball Z, you are coming in 40%, like after skipping 40% of the story. Yeah. That is maddening. So, yeah. It's a much better experience to start from the very beginning.
Low Poly Novi. They say, hey, do you think that Goku will get a new form that only works in the demon realm? I like the A there.
Maybe. You know what? I feel like there's like a lot of talk about like the difference and the distinctions between Ki and magic, but I think there was even a moment though where like Ki was where Goku conceded that Ki is kind of like magic actually. So I wonder if that'll go anywhere. That's probably the closest that I could probably make to a guess there, but I think it's possible. I mean, it's a Dragon Ball series, so there's probably going to be some new form.
I'm sticking with my extremely galaxy brain take from last week that since this is GT2, we will get crazy Super Saiyan 4. And what was the other thing I said? I don't remember. I made 2 crazy form predictions, and I'm sticking with those. So I say yes.
You said that Pansy was going to become like a dragon or something.
That doesn't sound right.
You said she was going to get a form because then I said that her pigtails would stick up on end.
Oh, you know what? It was me because I said we were going to own GT Pan for never getting to go Super Saiyan by somehow Pansy getting to go Super Saiyan.
Okay. That's almost worse than her turning into a dragon, but okay.
It's better. It's better
okay.
For sure.
She'll just change species just retroactively. Cool, gotcha.
Nyan Lietz, presumably. They say, what do you think of the different antagonists in Daima? Will there be a struggle of power between Goma, Degasu, Dr. Arensu, and even Glorio?
I feel like we got to see what Degasu wanted to wish for.
Yeah, I forgot like, Degasu was even here, frankly.
Well, but like Degasu like weirdly asked for like the last wish when he found out that Goma only had 2 when he wanted to wish in the Dragon Balls, and he didn't get to wish for it obviously because Goma didn't make his second wish. But I do wonder why Degasu wanted to make that third wish and what he would have wished for. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. That always just struck me like he gets 2. Can I at least get 1?
Yeah. It could just be that, like, but it's again, like, it's just again, this is just me reading into what isn't there, obviously, but like, it's just this could be a possibility for something, maybe, kind of thing, you know.
Jolly D Joestar says, sorry, I just got to get past that name. They even have a really incredible One Piece profile picture. All right. Clear mind.
Okay.
Jolly D Joestar says, do you guys think Toyotaro and Toei are gonna be working together later on, meaning the stuff here in Daima would coincide with the upcoming arcs?
I'm assuming new things will be acquired and there will be consequences to like all the information and skills learned in this particular adventure. There haven't been really so far, which is fine, I guess, but I suppose it depends on how this ends. I mean, if it ends like with a way that's amicable with the rest of the series, then yeah, absolutely, it absolutely could. But that I feel like that's presupposing maybe too much at episode 8.
Walmart 372 has submitted in 500 Argentine pesos, which are worth 49 cents. They say the last blow that Goku gives to the Tamagami to win is the same one that he gives to Vegeta in his training in Chapter 1 of Daima. Oh, that's true. Also, the Kamehameha has the same movement with his hands as the first Kamehameha done by Master Roshi in OGDB. I didn't think about either of those.
Neither did I, actually. Is that true about the Master Roshi one?
Yeah, 100%. He like puts his hands up and like vertical first before going in. That's great because I even like mentally clocked like, oh, that's a cool like hand motion. We don't really see that, but I completely forgot that. Yeah, that's how Roshi does the Kamehameha when he first does it.
That is really cool, actually. And he's on a big wall as well, but because the Kamehameha pushes him onto this big pedestal. Yeah. That's obviously completely incidental, but that's cool though. Yeah. That's funny. That's interesting. There's lots of little details like that I missed, actually. That's very cool.
Also, I think he is right, or they are right in that the like cool like doing a Kamehameha and then zooping in and punching to finish it is how we see the like, at least, I mean, they still continue fighting presumably, but that's how we see the end of that action cut in that initial adult Goku versus adult Vegeta fight in the first episode. Let's see. Jolly D Joestar, once again, adding to AJ's point on how Toei is taking Toriyama's interview, does this mean we can look to Dragon Ball Online for where Dragon Ball is heading?
God, I hope not.
I think so, actually.
Hey, man, Dragon Ball Online had some cool stuff in it.
I actually haven't looked at
Dragon
any of
Ball
it,
Online's
so
really
that's why,
cool.
I haven't looked at any of it, so.
I hadn't thought about that, but I think that's a good point because, not to get too morbid, but we are like now for the first time ever, in a post-Toriyama world. Dragon Ball is Toei's biggest moneymakers. They're going to continue making Dragon Ball. But I'm sure they want to continue playing into Toriyama-isms to some extent or something. Where better than something like auxiliary material like Dragon Ball Online, which was surprisingly dense with Toriyama like additions, but largely went unused because it got canceled and shuttered like 5 seconds later.
I don't know. To be honest, I'm gonna plead ignorance here. I actually don't know anything about Dragon Ball Online specifically, so I don't even know what it is. Is it like
Dragon
a
Ball
game?
Online gives us a canon way that Goku and Vegeta die. Did you know that?
Nope.
They grow really, really old, and then when they feel that their time has come, they fly off to a faraway planet in the distance and spar, and the planet is seen exploding sometime later. One final fight before they go out. It's a pretty good ending, I feel like.
Maybe, just deserting their families. It's very in character for them, I guess, yeah.
Okay, if Saiyans are old, then not to be too morbid here, but Chi-Chi and Bulma are long gone unless they've been wishing themselves into youth ad infinitum.
I always thought that Saiyans had like a comparable lifespan to humans, but is it a bit longer?
We don't know. We know that they, quote, retain their youth longer, but I don't think we've ever been given a hard marker on what the like upper bound of their lifespan is.
That is cool. I still don't know what Dragon Ball Online is.
It was an MMO, like World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a game. Okay, gotcha. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. It was an MMO that got shuttered almost instantly, or maybe even before fully launching. I don't remember.
No, it was out, but it was only ever in Korea.
Yeah, Korea or China.
Or maybe even
like
just
that.
like... Yeah, I believe it was a Korean MMO. I don't know if it ever made it out of Asia at the very least. I know there were many fan efforts over the years to translate it, and they got like pretty far as well. I never tried it myself, and I'm not like super up on the lore, but I know that Toriyama like provided a decent chunk of stuff for it.
Okay, this next super chat from Niall Cole. They say, Dr. Arensu gave him that Hawk Tua. Spit on that Majin. That's the whole super chat.
It's too late. It's honestly just too late. I'm too tired for this. It's like 10:30 at night. I'm just so tired. I can't be dealing with super chats like this. God almighty.
Please submit more like those in the future.
Oh, please don't. I mean, thank you so much for your donation. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, come on. How dare you? A Revan Taker, I think they were bouncing off what I was saying about Majin Buu being like a reagent rather than them making a Majin. They said, the Majin Buu piece is like MSG in Chinese food. That's also the whole super chat. Yeah. They're agreeing with me, which is why this is also a great super chat.
Okay.
But also
Thanks
MSG
for
is
this
great.
episode.
I've got like a giant in my kitchen. I've got like a giant like tub of MSG that I use.
I don't
from
even
time
know
to
if I
time.
can. I don't know if I've ever even seen that purchasable where I'm from. So I don't know. I haven't looked for it.
I mean, maybe not the tubs, but you can get little shakers of MSG the same way you can get like little shakers of herbs and stuff at like most grocery
Yeah,
stores.
Mark lives in a field. I don't
That's
think
true.
they even
Fuck
have
yourself.
electricity.
Fuck
there.
yourself.
He's using a
You are
imported
literally
generator.
adjacent to several fields. Okay, eat shit. All right. Okay, literally because it's outside for where you are. Okay.
What Mark meant to say is he's never seen a grocery store.
I've seen a shopping center and I've seen a supermarket. I haven't seen a grocery store. Yeah, you're right there. Okay.
Huh?
We don't call it grocery stores.
No.
Oh, it's a language thing. Okay. Whatever. You live in the sticks. Vasek Milos says, I felt so happy, so happy. They really reiterate it. I felt so happy when Tamagami practiced Kamehameha and waved at the end. Also, have you noticed that Shin and Glorio both hate bugs? Yeah, because that was one of your arguments for Shin being the person to use the bug, is that like you get a moment where he argues like, I don't want to eat this bug.
Does Glorio hate bugs? I thought that was Pansy and Shin, no?
AJ, do you have grand
I
knowledge?
don't remember. No, I don't.
What the hell? Come on, man.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be encyclopedic, pediatric on this.
It is
Not about story. I don't remember shit.
I'll tell you who animated this here, but don't ask me who this Goku fella is.
Yeah, what's an Uchiha?
Yeah.
Oh, true.
All right,
Everybody was
okay.
upset that I pronounced that Uchiha and not Uchiha.
I honestly don't think I noticed the difference. So
Yeah, to be fair,
Right.
Mark, you read the manga, so their theory
I did.
that maybe you didn't remember because I pronounced it wrong, that doesn't work now, does it?
nope. But a lot of people don't listen to anything I say, so it's that track.
Gus Tid says, I'd like to believe maybe they are gonna create something similar to Janemba. Maybe this series is kind of a canon version of the Fusion Reborn movie. Talking about the
Yeah, I made that joke on Twitter, and like
You did, yeah.
I like tens of thousands of people have kind of taken it seriously, and I don't know. Yeah, maybe. I mean, it could. I wouldn't put it past them. Like just repurposing an old character anew. That's certainly not outside the realms of possibility, let alone precedent. So,
I think that tracks because if you buy into my theory that it's just going to be Glorio 2, like if you take Glorio and then like make him stronger and infuse him with some Majin essence, like Glorio plus some like Majin design elements and color, or some Buu design elements and color, kind of does, that just looks like Janemba, right? I don't know.
I mean, like they got the same ears. Just me being really racist against the.
It does
team
feel
around it.
racist, doesn't it?
It does. It's a physical trait that we're using to generalize an entire race of beings. So yeah, technically it is.
But are we generalizing their nature or just their origin? Because like,
Their physical makeup, their pointy ears.
Fantastic William says, I hope the new Majin is called Blue. Do you think the fusion bug will be used during the Blue fight to mirror Vegito versus Buu? Maybe Blue absorbs Glorio.
It's hard for me to make any sort of prediction with this story with regards specific instances like what Vegeta will do. I honestly have no read on what that character is going to be used for in this story.
I will say, if the Cauldron fella is indeed a like Buu 2.0 Buu clone thing, I think that makes it inevitable that we will get a Goku Vegeta join bug fusion thing, and we're mirroring the Vegito versus Boo fight.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You can't not do that if the elements are there, and that is indeed what it is. The very last super chat is once again from Jolly D Joe Star, who says, "I get the last super chat." That's it.
Congratulations, sir. A winner is you.
That was a big podcast episode. Definitely by quite a large margin, our longest one, right?
Yeah. I was looking at the timestamp just now thinking, oh God, I have to edit all this.
Well,
I mean,
good
it was
luck.
a really great episode. It's hard not to yap
true.
about it. We should be here same time as everything but this episode, this upcoming Friday, 2 p.m. Central. What is that? That's 8 p.m. UK time.
All right. See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, gang.
If you enjoyed this and would like to tune in live, be sure to head over to Totally Not Mark's main channel, where we live stream this podcast at 8 p.m. UK time. That's 2 p.m. Central every single week until the end of Daima. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.